Hello, happy Sunday fun day. Welcome to another episode of Blood and Beer. I'm Matt, your host. This is the show where I talk about blood sport and I drink beer. Today's beer that we're going to be jumping into is a Great Lakes Brewing Company Great Lakes IPA. Bright and citrusy. Hope it doesn't suck. Other than the beer, though, we are going to be talking about a lot of MMA today. There are a lot of non-UFC events this weekend. ONE FC, not really going to talk about that because I don't know shit about the fighters except Demetrius Johnson and Eddie Alvarez. But we'll be talking about Eagle FC. We'll be talking about Bellator 273. And then after that, we'll jump into some more MMA news around the community, UFC, PFL, whatever's going on. But yeah, let's get started. Pretty fucking good. Better than not bad, I gotta say. Better than not bad. So the Eagle FC fight card, that was a pretty good card. Better than I was expecting, and I was expecting it to be pretty good. Jorgen De Castro, he used to be on the UFC. He bounced out with a real quick I think it was a guillotine submission. Dude looked great. I think it lasted like just under or just over a minute, so he looked awesome. Good for him. And then the big three, I'm not going to talk about all the fights on the card, but the big three on that, you had Ray Borg versus Cody Gibson first. Cody Gibson is a school teacher who teaches wrestling also, and just comes out to Bellator. In first round, he looked amazing. He was picking Borg apart all across the ring. I mean, he found his range. He was just popping him. Anytime Borg tried something, he was just getting caught. Had no chance in that first round. It looked like the fight was about to be over just because the guy had no answer for what Gibson was doing. And then we go fast forward to round two, and Borg starts finding his range. He's popping him, catching him just left and right, looking great. He gets the takedown. Borg looked really good in round two. And then round three was kind of a slugfest. They were just popping each other, and it looked good for Borg. I mean, good for him coming back. He used to be a UFC title challenger. He lost to Demetrius Johnson, and then everything kind of went downhill. So it was good to see him come back and get that win. He won it by unanimous decision. That was definitely the fight of the night for the card. It was awesome to see. It was a really fun matchup. So they did a good job with that matchmaking there. After that, we go on to Rashad Evans versus, what's the guy's first name? Gabriel Checo. This fight, I was not expecting Rashad Evans to do as good as he did just because of the way he ended with the UFC. He hasn't won a fight since 2013. He goes out there, gets the takedown, dominating Checo, and Checo's threatening a knee bar or a leg lock the entire time. I mean, dude did not let up. He looked like he was trying to attack. He was too invested in those leg locks, and Rashad Evans, for pretty much 3 rounds, rode the top and dominated. He did get caught with a spinning back kick by Checo, though, that I thought was going to hurt him. Just ate it, walked right through it. He said he really attributes his new diet and his new training methods to his refound focus in MMA. I'm excited to see if this was a one-off for him or if he's going to be coming back and fighting more frequently, because Rashad Evans was so much fun to watch in the UFC. He was that dude, Sugar Rashad. But I know he's got a lot of other things on his plate. He was talking about bringing back the Black Zillions, his old training crew that, if you watched The Ultimate Fighter, they had the Black Zillions on there. That's where Kamaru Usman came from, Vicente Luque. I think Gilbert Burns also is from the Black Zillions. I mean, it's a stacked team, and I don't think they're going to get the same team back together, but he really wants to get that going again. And he was the founder of it. I mean, that'll be fun to see. If he comes back, I think he could make a nice little run in the Eagle FC. I know Khabib, the owner of Eagle FC, said that he offered Rashad a multi-fight deal, but there hasn't been any decision on that yet. So that was good for Rashad. I didn't think he was going to be able to pull it off. I was expecting to see a real rusty-looking guy that just hasn't fought in a while and was out there seeing what he had. But no, he wasn't an exciting fight, where not a slobber knocker or anything, but he was out there fighting. Good to see Rashad pick up that dub. And then we move on to the main event. Tyrone Spong versus Sergey Haratov. I think the K is silent in that one. It wasn't very competitive. Spong was way smaller than Karatov. I don't think he should be fighting at heavyweight. He looked like a light heavyweight. I think he weighed in closer to light heavyweight than anybody probably ever has for a heavyweight fight. And goes out there, strikes, gets taken down in the first round and kind of dominated. Second round, same thing. Karatov takes him down, gets wrist control on one hand and starts ground and pound with the other, and he finishes the show. They stopped it. It wasn't like he was getting the shit kicked out of him, but he wasn't fighting back. You just got to stop it. A lot of people don't realize, though, Tyrone Spong only had 2 fights in MMA. He's got hundreds of kickboxing wins, and he's got a ton of boxing wins. I think he's 14-0 in boxing, so he's a combat sports vet. But MMA is different, and when you're fighting somebody that's a super, super good wrestler, and your base is striking, and you're not really into MMA, it's going to be tough. I mean, Karatov has over 40 fights in MMA, so he's not no slouch. That was not a fun fight to watch, but an interesting fight because you didn't know how it was going to happen if Tyrone Spong was going to be able to pull it out and get his striking going. But it was overall a good card. Matchmaking was good. They're definitely trying to boost the unknown Russian names over there, which makes sense because that's where they're based out of. I like that they do the free broadcast on FLX Cast. That's cool. I think Khabib's got a real thing going. And they have pretty good talent. I mean, I don't think they'll overtake the UFC, but they might compete with places like Bellator and PFL. It's definitely a good quality program. They have good matchmaking, and Khabib seems like he's got his head on his shoulder. The only thing I don't like, and it didn't go even past 3 rounds, but the main event was only 3 rounds, and I really don't like that. I think all main events should be 5 because what's the build-up if we're just 3-round fights the whole way through? But Sergey Karatov, he stopped it in the second, so I guess it's okay. And that's what I have to say about the Eagle FC. Kudos, Khabib. Not a UFC card, but it was definitely something fun to watch this weekend. So that was awesome. Moving on to Bellator 273. Homasi started off the card. He got a quick stoppage. That was good to see. He recently got, I want to say he got knocked out by Paul Daly in his last fight, but I'm not positive because I don't follow all the Bellator cards, but I remember watching that one live and it was awesome. But he got knocked out in that one. He goes out there and gets a quick submission, I believe it was, or maybe a TKO. A lot was going on last night, but he looked great. And then we also had Benson Henderson versus Islam Mamedov, and Islam Mamedov was 20. I'm pretty sure his record was 21-1, and the only fight he had lost was his second fight in his MMA career. So I was expecting to see that Dagestani wrestling come out and just dominate. And Benson Henderson goes out there and he neutralizes it without stopping the takedowns necessarily. I mean, he did stop a lot of takedowns. He's landing kicks, he's landing punches, he was cracking him on the feet. And then when they'd go for the takedown, Mamedov would always end up in this leg lock position, it seemed like. And Benson was just rolling to get these. And it was nice to see Benson Henderson come back and look great like he did. And Mamedov, when he was on top, he didn't do a lot of damage. He looked real inexperienced with his ground and pound. It was like, just looked like a drunk guy throwing punches, like me throwing punches right now. He, I don't know, it just looked like he wasn't experienced, and Benson was throwing punches from the bottom, and he just looked like he wanted it more. And they ended up giving Benson the split decision victory, which is awesome. I'd like to see him get one more win and maybe fight Patricky Fieri, Pitbull's brother, for the title, because he looked great. I mean, he's not really slowing down. I said in my last show I thought he was slowing down. I thought the wrestling was going to be tough, but he looked great. So kudos to Benson Henderson. That was awesome. Mamedov, he looked great too with all the takedowns and everything. It's just, you got to do damage when you're on top. You can't just expect to ride someone out and get the victory. You can't. Nobody wants to see that. You got to do some sort of damage. And if they're doing damage from the bottom and they're threatening submissions the whole time and you're just kind of letting them do their thing and sitting on top, riding it out, trying to show that you're a beast wrestler, everybody knows you're a beast wrestler. You got to, it's not wrestling, it's MMA, so you got to put the damage on and bloody them up. Bloody them up. So that was a fun fight to watch. I was happy to see Benson Henderson win. I really hope he captures the lightweight title. He said he's not going to retire until he has the Bellator lightweight title, so good for him. I'm rooting for him. Definitely going to be following that journey. Can't wait. Scott Coker, put him up against Patricky, even if he doesn't get another fight before then. I mean, Bellator is weak. They don't have the lineup that they need, especially at lightweight, because Patricio's not going to fight him. Benson Henderson is somebody that would probably give Patricky Fieri some problems with his stand-up, and he's got good takedown defense. So, shout out to slow Benson Henderson. That was awesome. Moving on to the main event. First, I want to say, I'm sorry, Ryan Bader. Talked shit about your chin in the last episode. I said that I think it's gone. You've been getting knocked out by light heavyweights. And I wasn't wrong. You've been getting knocked out by light heavyweights. But I rewatched that Nemkov fight. And not that it's an excuse because you got to be blocking kicks, but the kick, it wrapped around the back of his head and he got hit in the back of the head. And then some of the ground and pound punches, they looked like they hit him in the back of the head. So that's not really on your chin, you know. That's shout out to Nemkov. He got the win and didn't do anything illegal. It was just the awkward landing of the strikes that kind of ended it. But in this fight, Bader showed that at heavyweight, he can take a punch. Without that weight cut, he's a beast. And first round, he comes out and he rocks Moldavsky. God, I forgot the guy's name. Rocks him. I mean, almost had him out in the first 30 seconds or first minute, something like that. Looked great, Bader did. And then he got taken down, but he still definitely won that first round. Going into the second, Moldavsky gets a takedown, does a tiny bit of damage from the top. Not a lot, though, just kind of lay and pray. Real boring second round. Third round was probably the most boring round I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I'm surprised Beltran didn't stand him up because Moldavsky just held him on the cage, wasn't throwing strikes, threw a knee every now and then. Just the definition of lay and pray. I mean, was not doing any damage from the top. So he definitely won the third round just by pressuring him and sitting on him. And when he took him down, he laid on top of him in a position where Bader couldn't get up. But he didn't throw strikes. He wasn't like pounding his face. He just real basic wrestling for MMA. No ground and pound thrown in. It was weak. Come out to the fourth round, so Bader's down 2-1 going into the fourth. Bader gets a quick takedown and pretty much holds him there most of the round. Does a lot of ground and pound damage, just showing that he's a champion, which surprised me. I thought he looked exhausted in the third round, I thought. Goes out in the fourth and just holds him down, beats the shit out of him. Going into the fifth, Bader ties it 2-2. Moldavsky tries his pressure thing again, just leaning him up against the cage. Every time Moldavsky got a takedown, Bader stood right back up or got up quickly. And it was kind of an even round until on the cage, Moldavsky's doing his pressure. He's just leaning his head in, his whole body in. I don't know if he was looking for a takedown or just trying to do the lay and pray technique. But Bader starts throwing these mean elbows while Moldavsky's head is like right here under, just elbow, 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 punch, punch. You could tell that Bader just wanted it more, and I think that's what made the judges give it to him. And that's why he is, and still, the Bellator heavyweight champion, because he showed that champion spirit. He pulled it out in those last those last couple minutes, and he showed why he's the champion. And kudos to Bader. I was fucking wrong. I thought your chin was gone, and I thought heavyweight was a worse decision than light heavyweight. So I think he's going to be reigning at Bellator for a while, because if he fights Fedor again, Fedor versus Bader. If he fights Fedor again, he knocked him out in the first fight, I believe. But I don't see it going much differently. I mean, I don't know how Fedor's chin is, because it's been shown that changing your diet can change your chin. Look at Rashad Evans. Look at a lot of people that just have had career resurgence. But Bader's got good striking. He's super heavy-handed. As you could tell, he almost knocked out the giant Moldavsky. And I just don't think it's a good matchup for Fedor. And it's weird because Bader is the one that says that he doesn't want that fight, and Fedor does. Bader says it's a lose-lose, because if I beat him again, I'd already beat him, so nobody's going to give me any credit. If I lose, then I lost to Fedor after I beat him. So I hope they make the fight happen, honestly, because Bellator doesn't have a lot of great heavyweights. Tim Johnson just got knocked out by Fedor. So who do you put up against Ryan Bader? Let him fight Fedor in his retirement fight, and if Fedor wins, then he retires as the Bellator heavyweight champion. So that'll be interesting to see what the matchmakers do there. Again, I was wrong. Ryan Bader, I hope to meet you someday. Maybe you can come on the show and have a beer with me. You looked awesome. You showed that champion heart, champion spirit, and that was fucking great. So kudos to you, my man. Sorry. More MMA news that we'll jump into now that we're done with the Bellator card. Well, first I'll say that Bellator card is a lot more competitive and a lot better than I was expecting. So, hell yeah, that was a fun card to see. I'm a little hypercritical on Bellator, I think, just because they have so many nobodies, and I don't like their matchmaking. Like what they do with Michael Venom Page, they just throw him up against any trash can that fucking fights. They finally got him fighting, I think it's Onkolov in May, I believe, or April. But yeah, Bellator, work on your matchmaking. But this 273 card, great fucking job. Great card. So shout out to Bellator also. I'll give you a drinky poo for that one, Belly. Alright, on to more MMA news. UFC says they're close to finalizing a fight between Cowboy Cerrone and Joe Lauzon, which would be awesome. I don't think Lauzon's fought in like 5 or 7 years. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. Don't come attacking me on that, because I'm not positive. But it's been a minute. He's been coaching a lot. Cowboy's been having a rough stretch. They've been putting him up against young and hungry guys and Conor McGregor. So, yeah, rough stretch for Cowboy. But this is the kind of matchups I want to see for the vets. I don't want to see the vets fighting some 25-year-old or 28-year-old that's on the rise. You know, their power's at the strongest they'll ever be. They're in their prime physical condition, and then you put them up against someone that's 36 or 37. I want to see the vets like Robbie Lawler, like Donald Cerrone, like Nick Diaz. I want to see them all fighting vets. So putting Cowboy up against Joe Lauzon, I think that's going to be a fun fight. No clue how it's going to go, because Joe's been out of the game forever. But he's been coaching, so you know he's been training. I just don't know what his style is going to be like. Cowboy's usually a slow starter. Joe Lauzon is just a fucking fight maker. He's fight of the night, and Cowboys, same. They have so many bonuses. It'll be a fun matchup. I'm excited for that. We also have Kevin Holland versus another Cowboy Oliveira. That'll be a fun matchup. Both good strikers. Kevin Holland is one of the better strikers I've seen, and I don't know how much better his wrestling's got, but he's dropped down to 170, I believe, which It was a good move because 185 was a little big for him. He was the height and everything. He just didn't have the mass to be at 185. I think it's going to be a fun fight. Holland will probably talk shit and knock him out, is my opinion. Because he goes in there and he talks shit and he knocks people out. And if you don't have the wrestling to take him down, and if you do have the wrestling but not the jiu-jitsu, Holland's going to fuck you up. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. His striking is beautiful. I mean, he's a range finder. He finds the sweet spot. I mean, he knocked out Jacare Souza from the bottom. The dude's a beast. He just had some bad matchups with Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori, and then that Kyle Dawkins or Chris Dawkins, whichever one he fought. That fight ended weirdly with a headbutt. I think he probably would have ended up winning that fight. I wanted to see how his wrestling progressed. So hopefully Oliveira tries to take him down, and we can see how much Kevin Holland's progressed. But, just wait and see. That'll be an exciting fight. Do I have the date written down on here? I don't. I don't know when that fight's taking place, but I'm excited to see that fight take place. Another fight that I saw they are working on or just finalized recently, Uriah Hall versus Andre Muniz. It's Muniz. I've watched him fight a bunch. I've watched him break a lot of people's arms. I just forget because I was pre-gaming before this. Sunday fun day, bitches. Let's go. Yeah. So I love Uriah Hall. He's got some of the best knockouts I've seen. Dude is, when he shows up, and he shows out. Like, dude is a fucking striker, a fighter. He'll fuck you up. He's a beast. He just doesn't always show up. Like the Sean Strickland fight, I don't think he didn't show up for that one. That was more just Sean Strickland pressuring. You can't do your spinning back kicks. You can't do your high head kicks. You can't do the karate style Uriah Hall loves to do. So that was a bad matchup. But versus someone like Andre Muniz, he's got to worry about the takedowns, and I really don't want to see him get his arm broken, because that'll end a fighter's career for someone like Uriah Hall, because they're strictly striker. And Muniz has been going out and breaking arms. He snapped Jacare Souza's arm. Man, two combos in a row where we talking about Jacare losing in a weird fashion. But he snapped his arm. I'm pretty sure it was his tibia that he snapped. And watching that live, you heard it. It went real fucking loud. It was disgusting. Beautiful to see. Great armbar. Then his next fight, he goes out, gets another armbar. I mean, dude is just... Andre Muniz has insane jiu-jitsu. And he knew it coming into the UFC. He said, when he went up against Jacare, who used to be one of the number one jiu-jitsu guys in the UFC, he said, I'm gonna tap him out. I'm gonna submit him. And nobody believed him because Jacare's got such high level jiu-jitsu, not just like black belt level, but like that next level stuff. And he goes out there, throws him in an armbar, and then does it again in his next fight. So I'm worried for Uriah, but with people like that are always shooting for the takedown, it also kind of benefits Uriah because he can put your lights out with one shot. He doesn't look like he's throwing hard. He just sleeps you. And if you're shooting for a takedown and you're sloppy about it or you're a little tired, Uriah is going to sleep you. And if you give him range, he's going to pick you apart and fuck you up. He's not the most active fighter, but he is a nasty striker. Super, super fun to watch when he's on. So I'm kind of excited for the fight. I'm kind of nervous because I don't want Uriah Hall's arm to break. He's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. It's so frustrating to watch fight when he doesn't, when it looks like he doesn't show up. And I know that mental block's there. I used to not comparing myself. I used to box amateur. I fought in a lot of national championships, and I was kind of the same way. Obviously, not saying I'm on the same level, but some days I would show up and it didn't matter who I was fighting. I was just going to pick you apart. Other days I could fight somebody that was either way better or way worse than me and just get picked apart because you fuck with your own mental. Like, that's the hardest part, is when you get in your own head. and I think that's what happens with Uriah Hall. So I hope he comes back after that Sean Strickland loss and pulls it out, gets the knockout finish of Muniz. But Muniz he's a beast. It's gonna be one of two ways. It's either gonna be a knockout or it's gonna be a fucking submission, probably an armbar. Other fights that have been booked. Paul Bear Jew Craig, super fun fighter to watch. He dislocated Jamal Hill's elbow in their last fight with another armbar. Speaking of the devil, he's got good ground game, good jiu-jitsu. He's fun to watch fight. He'll stand there and bang with you. He's just a warrior. He's a fighter's fighter. He's fun to watch fight. You love to watch a guy like Paul Craig. And he's fighting Nikita Krylov, which I have never heard of this guy. He's probably had a few UFC fights. I just don't remember watching because those undercards, when you watch so many, you forget about people's names. And I should have done more research before the show probably. And I'm sorry, Nikita. I'll give you a drink. But dude's a warrior. Craig is. Don't know about Nikita, but I'm excited to watch the fight go down. That's going to be at UFC London. I believe that's in March or April. I think it's in March, right before the Columbus card. And speaking of the Columbus card, Jan Blachowicz had to pull out of the fight, which sucks. I'm a big Jan fan. So it sucks that dude had to pull out. He says he has a spinal injury, which is not something to fuck with because you get a bad takedown or get in a submission like what Glover put him in, and that might end your career. So good call by him not going through with the fight. I hope him and Rakic fight in the future because I think that's... A lot of people say it's a bad matchup for Jan. I think it's a bad matchup for Rakic because Rakic hasn't really fought anybody that hasn't been gun shy going in. Like when he fought, I think it was Santos. I don't like to do this, but let me look it up real quick. Let me make sure it was Santos that he fought. But Santos had just fought Jones, and his knees were busted. Yeah, Santos. His knees were busted, and he was just so gun shy, and he's been so gun shy since then. If you watch the Johnny Walker fight, it's just... I think Rakic is amazing, but I think he's also been a benefit of the situation the other fighters have been in. He seems like he's fighting guys that are on the way down. And that's how you move your way up, I guess. But against a guy like Jan, who's got good wrestling, he's strong. Jan is the size of a heavyweight. He's the same size as... Here's our weekly Stipe shout out. Same size as Stipe Miocic. I haven't gotten an episode yet without talking about my boy Stipe. So that might become a thing because dude's the GOAT at heavyweight. Him and Fedor. Sorry. But yeah, Rakic, he's good. And I hope him and Jan fight later this year. I think that it would go Jan's way. I thought it was going to in Columbus. But we'll have to wait and see. The Columbus card is still going to be amazing. You know, you got Magny versus Max Griffin. I think Casey O'Neal's on the card. I think Matt Brown's on the card versus Brian Barbera. So it's going to be a fucking blast when I'm up there watching that fight. I can't wait. I wonder who they're going to put in at the main event, though. They could easily slide in Neil Magny and make him the main event for a fight night because Neil Magny's super fun to watch fight. Max Griffin's super fun to watch fight. But I hope they bring in someone else. Like, maybe throw Rakic up against someone like... who's at light heavyweight that he could fight now? Johnny Walker just beat Santos. That would be a good matchup because Johnny Walker, when he fought Santos, he didn't want to hurt him, and Santos didn't want to hurt him. It was such a respectful, boring fight. But Johnny Walker's a beast, and that would be a fun matchup because if Walker wins, that puts him back up in the top 5, the upper echelon of the light heavyweight division. If Rakic wins, kind of shows like, yeah, I'm here, I'm ready to fight for the title after Yuri and Glover duke it out. Yeah, super excited for Yuri versus Glover. I guess it's not finalized yet from what I've been seeing. Yeah, so one final thing before we start to close this show off. I feel like I ran through it kind of quick, so I'm going to take a chug real quick for going so fast. But Kayla Harrison, she's a 2-time PFL champion. She has been talking about her offers. One moment, I'm sorry. Kayla Harrison, talking about the offer she received. She says that PFL is the front runner, which after Amanda Nunez lost, kind of makes sense because she can come over to UFC, and the only fight for her that I saw at UFC that made sense was Amanda Nunez, because that would have been a competitive fight. Amanda's got good wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Didn't show it versus Pena, but she had the weight cut, and I don't think she took it serious. And now that she lost, it's not as exciting of a matchup, so PFL is looking like the most tempting offer because she has that $1 million prize at the end of the year, and they're going to put her up against trash cans to keep showing how good she is. She also says the UFC's offer is really good, so hopefully she keeps that in the back of her mind. It's just at 145. I don't think she would do good against someone like Holly Holm, who knows how to stop takedowns. You know, not great ground game, but good enough to... She's not the trash cans that Harrison's been fighting. And I don't think Harrison has the stand-up to deal with Holly Holm. I mean, you got to remember, Holly Holm was a boxing champion. She was a beast in boxing. And then she's the first person to beat Ronda Rousey, knocks her out. So I don't think the UFC's as tempting to her because of the competition. I don't like saying that because I don't want to talk shit about her because she's a beast fighter, beast at judo, just dominates everybody. But she does fight at 155, and everybody, there has not been a single person she's fought that I have heard of in a positive manner. Like, she hasn't fought any studs. And I also think that she doesn't want to go to Bellator because someone like Cyborg, who's very well-rounded and takes every fight serious, would probably wreck her shit because she's not going to just take Cyborg down and drop her in an armbar like she does these trash cans. Cyborg's going to scramble. She's going to get out of that. And you're going to have to strike with Cyborg. She's not the most technical striker. Don't get me wrong. She is technical, just not the most. But Cyborg is a dog, and she's going to keep going forward. So Bellator is probably super unappealing to Harrison because that's just not a... Sorry. I'm sorry about the burpee. But that's just not a super interesting thing for Harrison, because it's not really a win-win situation. It's a lose-lose because she beats Cyborg, and people are going to say Cyborg's over the hill and you're way bigger. You fight at 155. If she doesn't beat Cyborg, then it's, well, you just showed you can't compete at this level. And I completely understand why she wouldn't want to do Bellator, because other than Cyborg, the only other person at that weight class is Kat Zingano, which Kat Zingano, not as strong as Harrison by any means, but she's got the experience. She might be able to, not saying she would, but she has the experience and the tools to kind of fuck Harrison up, just tapping her on the feet, and the ground game. I think that she would be able to handle it. She's not going to get caught in the armbar. Harrison's another Rousey. Rousey did the same thing. They're both judo champions, super good, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to talk shit about Harrison because she's a beast. It's just, I don't know what would be best for her. Probably PFL, but I wish PFL would find better women at 155, or make Harrison fight at 145. Make her cut the weight and fight people. Start signing people that have fought in UFC, have fought in Bellator, that can show up and be in that fight and make it competitive. I don't know. I'll stop talking about that one. I'm going to take a quick drink, and then I'm going to get on an MMA news site and see if there's any new news that I want to talk about off the top of my head. If you know me, you haven't seen me in a bandana since like 2017, 2016, so nice little throwback. I need to cut the sleeves off my flannel and cut get the knees off my jorts, and I'll be back to the old Matty, just playing. But yeah, haven't had a bandana on in a long time. It feels weird. I feel like I'm 17 or 20, however old I was. Oh shit! I forgot about this last night. Real quick, they booked Czech Congo versus Ryan Bader too, which makes sense because Czech Congo did not lose that fight. It was stopped due to an incidental eye poke, and then they gave the title fights to other fighters. They had Timothy Johnson fight that Moldavsky guy that Bader just beat, and I really think Congo should have been in it, but Fedor, I think, still wants to fight Bader. Fedor versus Congo would be a fun fight, but I don't know. That's wild that they booked that fight right after that. They must have had it planned. Congo deserved it, though. I mean, dude's been pretty dominant. Other things in the news. Oh, it looks like Austin Hooper has a fight coming up. I think he is coming off his first UFC loss. He's fighting Felipe Colares. God damn it. God fucking damn it. Yeah, but he's fighting Felipe Colares on May 21st. Austin Hooper is a submission prodigy. I mean, dude's a beast. He can get the shit beat out of him for 3 rounds, and in the last 5 seconds, he's going to put you in a heel hook or put you in a fucking guillotine. Dude he's a jiu-jitsu god. So, looking forward to that fight. Other fights, yeah, Bader's talking about unfinished business with Congo. Wow, they for a heavyweight fight, that's kind of a quick turnaround. They're going to be fighting on May 6th in Paris, Bader versus Congo. So, I mean, I know that's 5 months away, damn near, but for heavyweights, it seems like they only fight like once or twice a year. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. Let's see. Big Tuna lost. That sucks. If you've been following Bellator and MMA, Big Tuna is a dude that's been fighting against bullying, and he looks like he used to be really overweight, and now he's in shape, but he's got a little of the extra skin. Went out in his last fight, knocked the guy out, and he said, if you ever bully somebody or if you've ever been bullied, like, you know, I'm the guy. Don't bully. He's just good guy. He seemed like he's a quality dude. So I was happy to see him get that win. It sucks to see him get dominated, but, you know, it's all about matchups. I don't mean to look away. Felicia Spencer retired from the UFC, and she said it's definite. She said it's definitely happening. And then Ali Abdelaziz, sorry. He says that Magomed Shapirov is working on a comeback. He's had some serious health problems. Nobody's really disclosed what these health problems are that he's had. But he hasn't been able to train, and he's back in training. He was the number 3 ranked flyweight fighter at the time. The only thing I ever had against him is his gas tank sucked. Dude comes out and it's just like Said Nurmagomedov on that last UFC card. Bat out of hell. Going crazy. Does crazy shit, rolling. Just he's good, but then by the 3rd round, he's dead. If the fight versus Calvin Kattar would have gone 5 rounds, Kattar would have stopped him in the 4th. But Magomed Shapirov, he was top 3, and then he got removed due to inactivity. He's training again. I hope they put him up against a guy like Dan Ige, or put him up against Brian Ortega. 2 jiu-jitsu studs that have good striking. But, you know, you don't know where he's at, because if he's had the health issues and then he's got to fight a top level guy, the health issues hurts your cardio, and he already had a pretty rough gas tank, so we'll have to see how that goes, who they match him up with. They might give him a gimme to come back. Maybe someone like Dan Ige that's just a terrible matchup for Ige. Guy gets the worst matchups for him, unfortunately. But I think, let me do one last check, but I think that's just about everything we have for you today. Shout out to Rashad Evans. Shout out to Benson Henderson. Shout out to Ryan Bader. You guys looked amazing this weekend. Khabib said that Dana White's the best in the game. This is a lot harder than he was expecting. I think Khabib did a great job. I saw a news article that said that Khabib was going to overtake the UFC in the next 2 years. Eagle FC's got it, and it's nah. Eagle FC will probably overtake Bellator because Bellator doesn't matchmake the way that I saw Eagle FC do it this weekend. And I know it's their debut, so they probably showed out, put the best of the best out there. But I don't see him overtaking the UFC. The UFC is just such a conglomerate, such a rooted business that's built MMA and so many other leagues like the LFA, Cage Fighters. They have Dana White Contender Series. I mean, they build up other leagues. They do a good job. They don't just want the UFC to do good. They want MMA to build, and I love that about UFC. And they say they don't pay their fighters enough. Only thing I have to say about that, fighters that are even on the 40-40 contracts, where you're getting $40,000 for show and $40,000 for win, if they put you on a card, do you think that you would sell $40,000 at the gate? Most of you would be no. The top level guys like Francis Ngannou should definitely be getting paid more than $600,000, no doubt. But I don't want to hear about bitch and pay from someone like Kevin Lee, who's 1-4 in his last fights, got signed by Eagle FC. I don't know. Also, you win the fight, $80,000. I'm sure that like $20,000 to $30,000 is going to your camp, taxes, and everything else. But $80,000, yeah, end up with $50,000. That's more than a lot of people make. You just gotta be smarter with your money. You don't gotta go out and spend it and buy a sports car just because you're a UFC fighter and you've been on national television or you've been on a pay-per-view. But I think some of them should get paid more, like John Jones and Francis. It's a weird thing. The 20-80 scale, though, makes sense to me because it's not the fighters that are bringing in the paycheck. UFC promoting it is what brings it in. The whole platform in general. They build you up, and then if you get built up, I don't want to hear anyone bitch about a $200,000 paycheck for someone like Davison Figueiredo when he'd probably sell about 75,000 pay-per-views. So makes UFC a shit ton, but he'd probably only make about 75,000 off that, or maybe even 37.5. It's just you gotta know your worth, and also stop being so goddamn bitchy about it. I don't know. People don't make that much money. Be happy with that. Like you can't travel the world if you're not the world champion. Pretty much. Don't go blowing all your money and then bitching you don't get paid enough. Budget, bitches. That's all I had to say. I'm sorry. I don't like to get in on that, but it just bothers me when I see all that shit. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'll go ahead and chug this for you. This is Blood and Beer, the podcast, the YouTube show, I really appreciate anybody stopping by show. Like, comment, subscribe if you like my shit. Tell me I'm a dumbass if you disagree with anything I said. Tell me what you think about it. I mean, I want to hear the thoughts. I really appreciate any feedback, and I appreciate all the support.
I'm on my this is the third, but on my second episode, I got the same amount of views as my first in 24 hours as I did in a week. So I appreciate anybody tuning in and just checking it out. You guys are awesome. Anybody that I know or that wants to reach out to me, that wants to be on the show, talk MMA for a couple half hour, 45 minutes, whatever, let me know, because I can do it all day. And UFC fighter that I talked shit about, or Bellator or PFL or even ONE FC that I disregarded, let me know. Come on the show, let's talk. Or if I praise you, come on the show, let's talk, let's have a couple beers. Anyways, this is Blood and Beer, where we talk blood, sports, and beer. Thank you for stopping by. My name's Matt McClendon, and I hope to see you again soon. Fuck yeah.